Well, it's been a while since I've been able to post a video, but something came up in the news that I feel I really need to talk about. So to start off with, this is an article from Thursday the 2nd of March 2023. And I'll just put it up here so you can see it and try to explain something. So first off, when I was a kid, I was learning how to drive. One day coming home, my mother decided to test me by telling me to stop. And when she told me to stop, she just did it in a sort of firm, regular way to, stop the vehicle. All she said was stop. So I thought, okay. Looked around, indicated, wait till I saw a place I could pull over. Pulled over slowly, did what I was, supposed to, as I understand. Brought the vehicle to a stop, and then she turned at me and said, "Next time I tell you to stop, you stop." And this was said in a rather aggressive way, which I was trying to demonstrate with my tone. Anyway, the next time she said it wasn't too long after. I brought the vehicle to a sudden stop. This was putting my foot on the clutch and also on the brake, since I was taught not to, stop a manual vehicle by just slamming your feet on the brakes, but to also do both. Anyway, she turned to me and said, "The next time I tell you to stop, you slow down and you pull over." And I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. That's what I thought at the time. I was also really confused at that. Both times she said to me to stop. Didn't say how, just to do it. And this is one of the things that sort of affected me growing up and has affected me as an adult. But on from that, I've been seeing some rather concerning things come out of America. And one of them would be the anti-racist movement. Initially, when I first came across it, it was people spouting about, loud people, mind you, online, from America, spouting about how racism is everywhere, it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, well, that's your country. Maybe you should look at South Africa. No one seems to think that, though, for some weird reason. Apparently, South Africa is not considered to be a country of interest. But I digress. It then moved to more media companies, so movies and TV shows, of people saying, if you don't support X movie or this show or blah, 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 man, this is irritating. You're a misogynist, you're a closeted misogynist, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, you're this, you're that. Something really negative to, really rubbing raw to someone about how you're a bad person if you don't find this show interesting, which completely ignores the idea that everyone's different, everyone has different tastes. And I'm seeing all this shit in America and I'm thinking, crap. So I bring it up to people I know around me in real life. And they're of the opinion that this is in America, it's not going to come here. Boy, are they full of shit. Case in point, this post here. No, not post, sorry, this news story. I will make this clear that I am irritated I can't find the original post or posts made by this individual on Facebook into regards to how he talks. So I have no idea about that. All I have is what's written here. How it's been written forces an individual to have to go through the whole thing to get an idea about what's going on. For a newspaper, for someone writing a news story that wants to, captivate someone for a while, this individual is doing their job correctly. I would hope that everything in here is true, because this is all I have to go on. Nothing else. I'm going to start with what I believe is the ending of this situation and then move back to where I believe it sort of started. Oh boy. So this ended up with a councillor, so as I understand, someone elected to this position for, where is it? I'm not quitting, no way. Here we go. I'm getting absolutely bashed up in the council like you would not believe. I'm there because of you, to look after you, to do my best for you, the good folks of Burnie. Yeah, the way some people will view that, and this is coming from what I've seen in America, would suggest that it's only one part of the community. When I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, well, I'm assuming it's people who are doing what's, being a proper sort of resident, not going around and burning down buildings or burning was in the news recently where yesterday a bunch of kids were identified who went down and, well, they did a bunch of things they shouldn't do to penguins. Kids have been identified and apparently they're getting charged. So, good for that. Because if you think animal abuse is, all fun and games, good luck. So yeah, they basically apparently went down and did some naughty things to the penguins. Wild animals, so why kids are playing with wild animals is a bit of a confusing thing, but whatever. I mean, modernism. So that's where I believe it ended at. So you've got when he says bashed, just so you understand, I'll try to clear it up for you as I see it. He's being harassed, he's being bullied, and he's being, well, no one's being very nice to him for this. And coming from the group of individuals I assume are talking about how, we all got to be welcoming, we all got to be accepting, we got to, how else to put it, inclusive type of thing. Eesh. Yeah, you're basically doing what you say you're fighting against. Congratulations on that. Now, if we move over to here, so the mayor of the city has said, as councillors, it's very important we conduct ourselves with tremendous care when posting on social media. This is true. I'm not disagreeing with that. That is correct. When you're in a position such as this, whether you're voted in or if you've been, you're employed in that position. So the community doesn't have to say, you basically get hired or you're promoted to it. You have to be careful about what you say, where and when. Doesn't matter if it's on the internet or if it's in person. There are now new laws that take comments of this kind very seriously, and sadly for me, Mr. Trent's posts are trending dangerously in this space. This is having serious implications both on other councillors and around the table, me personally, as I continually navigate the damage control necessary in my position. This is the point where I just have to laugh my ass off because it gets more interesting when we go deeper. Okay, so basically, as I understand it, there's this anti-discrimination law. This is the part that I didn't bring up before, but it's important to understand that if you have a neutral or negative comment about something, so turning around and just looking at something and going, this is crap, without examining it, that's problematic because you're not taking the time to understand what's going on. Turning around and saying, look, this is a plastic type of leather. This type of material generally degrades, fade easily. Personally, I prefer if it was like cotton, maybe linen or some other. You see, you talk like that and you're basically saying, look, yes, acceptable, but preferably because of, well, that's showing you're using your head, whereas otherwise you're not. No, generally not. At least that's how I see it. So we're at the point of anti-discrimination being brought into this. Okay, so we can classify this under the whole racist term. This is where I start to perk my interest up to find out exactly what is going on. So what were the terms used? Well, we can look at the title of this, which is migrant worker buses. To be clear, I have actually seen that kind of bus where I am in the state. So Bernie's at the top end of the state. I'm in the southern part of the state. And I have seen what I believe the same migrant bus going backwards and forwards. It's an old metro bus. There's generally nothing really wrong with it. Generally. And it's usually filled with, well, clearly what look to be migrant workers going from point A to point B. So from where they live to work or back. Doesn't matter. Have I had any issue with that bus? No, actually, no, I haven't. Just that I've noticed it and thought, oh, that's strange. I didn't realise what it was and just went about my day because what the fuck does it matter? Okay. Sorry, I shouldn't be saying okay. That's fucking ridiculous. Okay, whatever. So I've seen that bus down here. And when we go to the actual comment, we don't have the original comment that was posted on Facebook, which is really unfortunate. But it's been posted in here. And where is that? Here we go. Migrant worker buses in the city, vehicles containing to being driven by seasonal workers employed in local farms. Yeah, not what we're looking for. Tasmania Council, I'm not quitting. Migrant worker buses from the CBD. I'm sick of seeing them flying down past Kmart, cutting through traffic and running red lights. Let's shift back over here for a minute, shall we? And let's go back to here. There are new laws that take comments of this kind very seriously, and sadly for me, Mr. Trent's posts are trending dangerously in that space. I'm sick of seeing them fly down past Kmart, cut through traffic and run red lights. Let's sort of mash that together for a moment. And a councillor or anybody in the public sector turning around and complaining about vehicles driving in a dangerous manner. Which is basically what it's saying here, is that there's buses driving in a reckless, dangerous manner in a public space. Now, when they say CBD, it's Central Business District. So if it's anywhere like Kmart, where I am, you'll sometimes see like school children walking along the side of the road, maybe crossing the road with a bunch of teachers. And we're talking like 1 or 2 classes worth of students. So it's pretty obvious what's going on. To follow up from that, since 2021, it's now 2023, if you saw that post, and it's been a couple, there have been a growing number of road fatalities lately, which is really concerning. Now, if you go to the end of the end of 2019, yes, we had road fatalities, and they were slowly increasing up and down. So they sometimes go up and down throughout the year, over the years. But since about 2021, I think it was, there was a significant amount of road fatalities compared to 2019. And 2022 was apparently even worse. So you had the police constantly going in the paper or going on the local news explaining, look, you need to be more careful with driving. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, you're fussing about migrant workers, immigrants drive, you fucking moron. If you lived here, you would know that it's not as much the tourists that cause accidents, but the locals that cause the accidents. People like me, except myself, I don't have a car, so I don't drive. Unfortunately, I'm a pedestrian, which is bad. Oh, and the worst part is if you get cyclists. I can tell you some really fun stories of what I've seen some cyclists do and why I believe that they really need to take responsibility for their driving. But I digress. For me, this is extremely upsetting. It's extremely concerning, and that bullshit statement that people used to tell me about how this only happened in America, too late, because It's happening here. You have the mayor of a city in my state trying to shut down someone's speech about how they're concerned about this bus driver. And instead of going, well, making this kind of post isn't acceptable, it's not generally required, you should be communicating more with the company. Oh yeah, about that. Where is it? Mr. Atkins said he had emailed the bus company to raise his concerns. So the company's aware of this and they decided to do nothing. My assume is that they would have talked to the bus driver and he would have nodded his head, pretended he understood, and just kept doing it. Now, so you understand that in my state, there's a lot of people dying on the roads because of people recklessly driving. Also, sometimes you get pedestrians doing some really stupid things. I was at Woolworths last week, and people would just walk out of the exit into the car park area without looking. I mean, the amount of times I saw someone on their phone while walking out of the exit right to a crosswalk where some vehicle could actually hit them. Yikes! I mean, just the last couple of days, some dude got hit by a car and then was hit by a truck in the same accident. Fun, that. Sarcasm if you don't get that point. So at the moment, I still believe that they don't know who he is. Fuck. So it's not just drivers being idiots, it's also pedestrians not doing things. I mean, the amount of time I see people on the phone while they're driving is just psychotic. But still, it's apparently considered to be acceptable despite the police saying, yeah, don't do it, and you're getting pretty big fines. This is just not acceptable whatsoever. For the mayor of Burnie, if she had said that, look, comments of this is undesirable, dangerous driving is not acceptable, but no, instead decided to verbally beat down a councillor. I can't see any of the others' comments because they've been removed from Facebook. So generally, to me, the guy looks like a twat when he looked at his Twitter. Not someone I'd be particularly interested in talking to or whatever, but to get this kind of abuse from your superior is just... that's workplace bullying. And I'll be complete honest with you at this point. I would love for the anti-discrimination laws to go up against safety laws. It's just been my experience. Most people will ignore safety over racism just under the implication of racism or perceived racism. Safety is just completely ignored. Case in point. Bus driving in a reckless manner, councillor going, hey, this is a problem, it needs to stop. This is where it's happening, this is what the driver is doing. And for any of you useless idiots out there who are bitching and moaning about how I've got the wrong train of thought here, let's look at it this way. Every single one of those passengers, every one of the passengers on that bus, what do they deserve? Think about that. If this bus comes to a sudden stop and it is running at either legal speed or speeding, so going over the speed limit, those people, depending on the layout of the bus internally, one entire side of the bus may just be flown through the window. Do the passengers of that bus deserve to be basically ground against the cement or the bitumen outside on the road? Yes or no, you smacked into another vehicle. Awesome. Is that what they deserve? Because one side could be potentially launched from the vehicle, while the other side would just be smashed up behind the driver's shield thing, and the driver would basically get ejected from the... That's if the bus came to a sudden stop. The other thing is, if the bus comes to a sudden stop, but not enough to eject someone, or eject a ton of people, it could still smash into... you just get a bunch of people just smashed into the front of the bus. Or at least move to the point where they're going to need hospitalization. I mean, that's pretty serious. And I'm talking about the passengers of the vehicle here, not people around the bus, not the people outside of the bus. If this bus is going through a red light at the wrong time, or in my case, the right time, it's like a 4 or 5-year-old kid, this bus could just simply run them right over the tire and ground the kid into the pavement. I want you to think about that. How do you think an employee is going to be that works for the government that has to walk out and pull some kid's body off the pavement because it went under this bus's wheel or wheels? How's it going to look if this bus plows through a group of people and kills them? Are you seriously stating that, oh, we must cancel out perceived racism just because, and ignoring safety like this? Do you have any idea the damage? I don't want to see another person get hit by a bus. I have seen that in my state, and I have seen it when I've been out and about. I don't want to see it again. I don't give a shit who's driving. I don't give a shit who's in front of the bus when they get hit by it. I don't fucking care. I don't want people dying like this because some asshole has their head up their ass thinking they can drive whatever the way they want. Shit! What the fuck is wrong with people? Seriously. What the fuck is wrong with people? People are dying constantly from ignorance, and you're just going to turn around and say, because racism... Dude, fuck you. Fuck you on that. I don't want to see people dying just because you got your head up your ass. Seriously, what the fuck is wrong with you? This is not acceptable. The mayor of Burnie is completely out of touch with what's going on around her. What the hell? Seriously, who has to die for you to care to stand around and say, right, this is absolutely not acceptable? No, fuck that. Too late. How would you like it, Burnie of Mayor, if this bus killed somebody that you loved dearly, completely ploughed them into the ground so they were unrecognizable apart from roadkill? How would you like that? Because, heads up, you are enabling that kind of that thing from happening simply by turning around and completely avoiding the fact that this bus is driving in a reckless manner. If everything in this is true, if everything in this news article is fact, then you are completely out of bounds. It is one thing for me to learn that this is going on in America. It's another thing for me to learn about a South African immigrant watching her sister getting beaten, raped, and then murdered in front of her while she's 16, and turning around and saying, oh, but in America we have people who are ignorant. Fuck you. There is a lot of shit going on around the world. America is part of it. So don't think that it's only going on where you are. This shit is in my state. I've been affected by similar incidences like this in the past, and it is really pissing me off. I don't give a fuck what is going on in your head. If you can't turn around and say, well, safety of others is our top priority, then you are the fucking problem. I mean, seriously. In America, it was like the 1900s. There's a textiles factory where there was a fire. This fire occurred and killed a ton of people. Now, this fire could have, yes, wiped out the building by all means, but there were a ton of workers in that building who died needlessly because the bosses thought that it was a fantastic idea to lock the doors, to stop people from stealing, to stop people from leaving when they shouldn't. Guess what happened in India? I think this was like after 2010, the building collapsed. And there was apparently enough time for at least some, or even all of the people in the building to escape, if not for one thing: the doors being locked. I saw the footage of people being pulled out. Some of them lived. Most didn't, because what's going to happen when a building falls on someone? Did people learn? No. Did people care? No. Not until after. It's like, oh, we need to do... You had a fucking example. The people buying the textiles had known, should have known the history of what happens, should have turned around, but no, they don't care. I am getting sick and fucking tired of this. I am sick and tired of seeing something that is clearly dangerous. We've got the history. When I did the electrotechnology course at TAFE, I didn't pass because of mathematics, but one thing really stood out to me. The reason why majority of the time when you see electricians, there's two of them. There was a hospital here. You had an electrician pulling wire through a pipe. The pipe was sharp and it started digging into the insulation. The wire was apparently alive as well, which wasn't a very good thing. So the dude's buddy thought it was a fantastic idea to just bugger off to go do something else. I forget what it was. When he came back, his workmate, which is colleague or whatever you want to call it, was basically extra crispy. He was dead. And do you know what the shocking thing is? He was in the ceiling, of course. So people, the doctors and nurses running around under the ceiling, so where they're supposed to be in the hallway or rooms or whatever, people that could have saved his life had no idea that someone above their heads was getting electrocuted. Hence the reason why there's a lot of, one of the reasons why in Australia we have a lot of rules regarding what people can and can't do on work sites, just to prevent needless deaths. Thank you to the Bernie of Mayor for basically saying needless deaths are acceptable and a way of life for Tasmanians, especially for the people living in my area. If you come here, make sure that you have your life, you have your life in order, because you may come here and you may die. Don't you just love people like this? Complete ignorance that will cause death, mayhem, and destruction just because. Like the damn penguins, for instance. I mean, kids going out to... I don't know what was done, but apparently it was serious enough for the kids to be arrested. Wow, that was a lot of built-up rage. I really hope this helps, but this is not acceptable by any means standard. If you're somebody who looks at this and is laser focused on the racism part, perceived racism part, but you don't care that the bus is driving in a dangerous manner, I just hope that you learn why focusing on safety is important and not focusing on what you think's the problem. I learned at a young age that people will get blamed for things when they didn't do it. For instance, my sister would do things that she shouldn't do. I mean, yeah, occasionally I did things I shouldn't do as well. Either I didn't know or I just thought, yeah, screw it. And I'd get into trouble. But what really pissed me off is that sometimes neither parent realized. And when my mother realized that, no, this was actually my sister, my father was always disappointed that he had to punish her and not me. Which avoids the problem at hand. If someone purposely does something that's dangerous and it's considered to be a non-issue, you don't help what's going on, you just make it worse. For instance, those two buildings, factories in, well, the one in England in like in America in the 1900s, and that factory in in India, the capital city of India, which is sort of just passing my head. People's lives could have been saved if things had been done properly. if concerns had been dealt with when, prior to them, kicking off, locking doors and keeping employees confined within a building, no. I don't care where you are in the world, you don't do that. Now, there are some minor exceptions, but even then, in the event of emergency, those doors can still be opened and people can still evacuate. Say, for instance, the building collapsing or the building catching fire. But the mayor of this city is just... I would not want to be her if and when this bus kills one or more people. Bad enough if someone gets injured, it's probably not going to get mentioned all that much. But if a lot of people die because of this bus, and the comments of this mayor are so tone deaf, I would not want to be her at that point. Now, as I said, I can't see any of the guy's previous comments on Facebook. The stuff I saw on Twitter was him just doing like cleaning stuff or being being prideful or whatever you want to call it about something in the city and or in the area. It's like, I don't care. But to say that he's had comments like this in the past would put into question whether or not there are other safety issues that this individual has raised and that have just been completely ignored. It can happen. You can do something 10,000 times, and then that 10,001 time is when you basically get, how can I put it? You get snuffed out. How's that? Does that send a message to you? You go to the store, you buy something that you like, you do it every day for 10 years. And then finally one day you go in there, you take a sip, and it just basically destroys your life. That can happen. I trusted people with cooking chicken and serving it to me as acceptable food. Turns out I can't trust my father with cooking food. I can't trust my landlord with doing that. So getting food poisoning from chicken is a pretty nasty thing, but I digress. I still put it down that I really want to see where this goes. I'm the type of mentality where I can see something's going to be a problem, I'll speak out about it. And then when I'm ignored, I'll just sit there, grab a chocolate bar, grab something to munch on, and literally watch someone die. If I can do that at least once in my life, I'll be a very happy person. Because then when you have to explain to either police or safety investigation about how, well, yes, I actually said something about this. Here's what I said. Here's when I said it. I raised the concerns. They were ignored. Oh, and there's half this person's over here and the other half of this person's like on the other side of the street. What was I supposed to do? If the people responsible decide not to take any action towards a dangerous situation and someone ends up dead or hurt, you got insurance that's going to completely lose their shit because they're not going to want to pay out for this. And you have the people responsible. I mean, would you like to be charged with manslaughter because you decided to look at your phone while driving? I don't know. It's up to you. I mean, I don't have to worry about that because while I do have a driver's license, I don't own a car. I don't have a vehicle that I can drive. Majority of people, as I understand, do. So, good luck for you. But if you're going to use your phone while going through, driving down the highway, do you want to be held responsible for, killing someone? And for someone like me to actually see you prior to that accident and reporting that, oh yeah, you'd want to shut me up for sure, but I'm pretty sure the police would have something very interesting to, they'd be very interested to sit there and listen to what I have to say. Anywho, I'm going to leave this morality tale with you, and rules for everyone or rules for nobody. Yibbity-yibba.